Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and I'm gonna try to be succinct. I'm not always good at that, but I've noticed my camera is starting to overheat at a certain time. Very unfortunate for me. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. How are you? I am alive, and I'm here again to discuss something that I've discussed before, but I didn't think I would need to make another video, but then there's been all of this conversation. I've witnessed some on TikTok and then some on Threads where I like to lurk. It is again about the recent pub books, because I think 2 of them have come out. There's 1 more coming out that were originally fan fictions. Well, I again have to say, the Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy was not a fan fiction. She's a popular fan fiction author. This is an original story, but whatever. Rose in Chains was a fan fiction. Another one, Alchemized, was a fan fiction, being rewritten or filing the serial numbers off to be published as traditional publishing. Now, I've had a series of videos where I've talked about my thoughts, being like, negatives and positives, and then I started to see marketing material from the publishers for at least 2 of the books that are using Harry Potter in the marketing. Like the words Harry Potter, Draco Malfoy, Hermione Granger, Dramini, the ship name. And then now the books are out, and there has been a Harper's Bazaar article about it, and it has some, I don't know if they interviewed them. I think they did, the 2 authors, Julie Soto and Brigitte Knightley, about the books.
Hello, it's editing me, looking a mess. Hey, so originally I was like, I'm not gonna read through the article, I'm just gonna post it. And then I was looking through it to make sure that they did talk to the authors, which they do. They did talk to Knightley and Soto. There's quotes, and I will share them in a minute. But then I was reading through it, and I got mad, because I think this is so harmful to just, if we just take out the JKR of it all, I think this is harmful to fandom. This happened a few months ago, maybe, with The Pit, with people who, like, or someone who made an article, and it was behind a paywall, that was talking about The Pit in fan fiction and, like, in the titles of the story. No, these things do not need to go in major publications, because throughout this article, she's not just mentioning the fics that these were derived from. There's other ones and, like, fan art from them, and I think that is so icky. And I do want to be clear that this was the person who wrote the article was on Threads saying that, like, the publisher did not pay them to write this. This was like something they wrote on their own. But I don't like it. Don't go on AO3 and I don't care if you're a fan of the ship. Don't post that. Like, don't do this. Essentially, don't do this. It's gross. But anyway, I'm going to share the excerpts where Soto and Knightley talk about what's going on and the thick to trad pub of it all. So the article is talking about Joanne and her harmfulness of what she's doing with all of the anti-trans legislation that she is funding in her crusades. And then it goes into this part. That makes this a tense moment to release anything related to Harry Potter, even novels that are several layers removed from JKR's wallet. On book threads and book talk, a handful of creators have expressed discomfort or even anger that these titles are using Harry Potter as a marketing tool, stating that they will not be reading the original works. Both Soto and Knightley express a complete understanding of the situation. And then this quote says, "Now, it must be said that J.K. Rowling's online presence and anti-trans activism in the UK have made Harry Potter fandom a thorny situation, to put it mildly." I have a few problems with this, but saying this makes this a tense moment to release anything related to Harry Potter. So why even write this whole article? Again, rehashing, just like hammering down that these are related to Harry Potter. That's what I don't understand. I'm going to get to it, but, like, that's just something that I just don't understand. If you know the situation, know how hateful she is, which makes it a thorny situation to release a book that was based on that IP, then why are you going to continue to hammer home the fact that it was based on that? Like, I'm confused. I don't write in the Harry Potter fandom anymore. If an idea strikes me, I might, but I don't agree with her views and how she chooses to spend her influence and her money. I hope that through my work, people can read that we have different viewpoints on things, Soto says. I appreciate anyone who doesn't want to interact with the franchise at all anymore, and I think it's a completely valid decision, and it's valid if you don't want to read any of the traditionally published books that had a start there. I don't think I can think of a single Harry Potter fanfic author that I know that isn't clearly a trans ally or anti-TERF. We acknowledge that there's a problem, but we're here to play in this sandbox, reclaim these spaces, Nightly adds, and fanfic has always been a place for more marginalized voices to play. To Knightley's last point, it's important to add that fanfic communities have long been a haven for LGBTQ plus fans. When I was a youngster on fanfiction.net, the most popular pairing in the Harry Potter fandom was Drarry, which is Draco and Harry. Currently, one of the most popular fics in the Harry Potter community is All the Young Dudes, a 500,000 plus word epic set in the Marauders era centered on the pairing known as Wolfstar, Remus Lupin and Sirius Black, and yet those queer stories aren't the ones being pulled to publish. It is kind of bittersweet to see because fanfic to me has always been queer and trans. For queer fiction writers, really only in the past 10 years has there been a lot of queer romance to choose from in TradPub. So before then, a lot of people were relying on fic and still are, Thomas says. Fanfic is not just IP slop. Often it's love-in criticism, and that's what All the Young Dudes is. Such a beautiful example of an infusion of original ideas in a world that's familiar, but it goes way beyond what you thought would have been possible and makes the subtext text. I think it's, and many people have commented this, that it's very interesting that the most popular ships for the most part on AO3 are queer ships, but those are not the ones that publishers are publishing. And let's not be surprised why. So, I'm glad they noted that here in the book or in this article, because saying that it's a largely queer space while talking about a hetero ship is like, okay, yeah, it is, but that's not what publishing is publishing. What's exciting for me is seeing authors who connected to their readers and did a lot of work out of the love of their heart for the community, because that's the thing with fan fiction. It's not necessarily out of the love for the source material. It's out of love for the fandom, which in many ways has nothing to do with the creator of the source material, get to reach new audiences and new communities and expand their network, Soto says. Those in the Hermione fandom are excited too. It's just a very special moment because finally these fans have an outlet to give back in this really tangible way that they did not have before, to support authors who are now, in the case of Cinlin Yu and me as debuts, trying this new career path to see where this could lead, Knightley says. And I would like to say, I don't like that, to say it's a tangible way to give back. The purpose of fan fiction, writing fan fiction, is because you have this passion for the fandom, the ship, and you want to write a story. The expectation is always that you write it for the love of it, of the love of writing, and it's supposed to be free. It's never supposed to be a gateway into then getting published so that your fans can now pay you back in a tangible way. I just didn't like that. Ew. And also to Soto saying, because it's not out of the love for the source material, it's the love of the fandom. And I'm like, when you have to have at least a deep like of the source material to then care about the pairing that you wanted to see or that you're interested in seeing, to then write the source material or write the fan fiction. I don't know, I haven't written anything, but it's I just don't think these things did them any favors.
And also, now there have been posts from some Barnes & Nobles, which it appears that is individual to the store, that they have signs, and I'll input the images here, about the book, and they're also mentioning Hermione or Draco and Hermione. And I said previously, so I won't go on the whole diatribe, how reckless I think this is, how dangerous I think it is, especially before we even step into how terrible she is as a person, because of the gray area that fanfic already sits in, and somebody as rich as her, and publishers, WB, like they all have copyright, and they have been known to like send out, cease and desist or whatever to people who are making like merchandise on Etsy. So this just didn't seem like a smart thing. And so some people have rumored, and I wonder if like they have some kind of deal with her, because I'm really shocked that she's allowing, granted Dramini itself isn't like copywritten because it's just like a ship name, but they're saying like they're on some of those they have said Draco Malfoy, Hermione Granger, and so it's like I wonder, do they have a deal with her? Anyway.
Now, I've seen multiple people say this, but here's another one that said, unfortunately, under fair use doctrine, you can use another owner's trademark without their permission for purposes such as comparative advertising, news reports, parodies, and criticisms. That's why comp titles are commonplace in publishing. Scrubbed fanfic has removed most of the things, characters, names, places, etc., that would be grounds for copyright infringement claims. So, obviously, there's no evidence that the publishers work directly with her or with her publisher, but I get why people are asking the question. And I'm no IP lawyer, so take, everything with a grain of salt.
All of that aside, Joanne Kathleen Rowland, I don't know if that's her middle name, is a TERF. She is a trans, exclusionary, radical feminist. She's a terrible person. She has amassed billions of dollars, and she uses that money to fund legislation in the UK against trans people. It's her obsession. I don't get it, but she is disgusting, and unfortunately you see a direct correlation between the money she has made and the negative things that she chooses to do with it. Now, before, I think I had mentioned in a video that I didn't think that reading those would, contribute to her because they aren't published, they aren't her books, right? They are original authors. But I've seen conversation, I understand more now, especially once the marketing came out. Then it was like, oh, okay, we're really leaning to this. If you really wanted to make an original story to stand on its own under your name as an author, then nothing on your Instagram, nothing on the publishing marketing, nothing on anything should have any mention of what originally inspired the story. And now I was not someone, I did read the first 50 Shades of Grey book, but I wasn't like in the know when that book was coming out. So I don't know, but I don't think that it was like being marketed as Twilight fan fiction. I think a lot of people found that out afterwards. I know that there have been on some of the more popular Reylo authors, sometimes a mention of Reylo. Obviously, sometimes if you know that ship, then people are like, oh, these characters favor those characters. And again, when the Love Hypothesis came out, I was not seeing like the marketing. I just saw other people reading it. So I can't say for certain that they didn't mention that in the marketing. However, from what I've seen from conversations online, it does not seem like it was mentioned, or if it was very, small or light. It wasn't something heavy-handed. Like, this is heavy-handed. This is, hey, these works were inspired by this IP, and here is this book. Other conversations outside of her being a terrible person and this just platforming her even more, as I've seen some authors express concern about their own IP. Because they're like, if this is going to happen with a big IP, the author's still alive, obviously, the IP is well and alive, and somebody can take the fan fiction of that, change the names, and republish it as their original work. What's that from stopping other people from doing it from something else? And people may be like, oh, well, it's different because it's Harry Potter and it may not happen. It may not, but I think it's a fair question to say, hey, let's say, I don't know, let's just take the Daevabad trilogy and you've been writing fan fiction for it, and then you get picked up by a traditional publisher and you just change a little bit of things around, but it's still very heavily inspired by the world that Shannon Chakraborty wrote. And then the publisher also uses their books, like the name of their books in their marketing, like that. And again, you might be like, oh, you're thinking too far into it. That's too far-fetched, but it is a thought, okay? Because at this point, anything is possible. So I just wanted to share that here. And then, of course, people there are upset because there are a lot of authors I've seen on threads more smaller authors or indie authors who have spoke out, like saying, you know, like, I'm not going to be platforming these books, or I don't, you know, condone whatever. And then some people like upset that other romance authors or bigger ones haven't said anything, and someone was like, well, it's probably because they're all friends with Julie Soto. I don't know how the friend groups run, but then I did see a post from Abby Jimenez, who, she has a bake shop, and she couldn't be at one of Julie Soto's tour stops, but she sent a cake for like Rose and Chains, and so people are upset about that. And there also has been a lot of conversations, obviously, on threads. Like, someone posted the book The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, and they like paint edges of books as a thing. I don't know if they sell them or if it's just a hobby. And they posted that, and I guess people started, you know, saying like, hey, you shouldn't be platforming this book, and trying to explain why it was a bad thing. And that person said like, hey, you know, I just do this for fun. I'm not trying to get into politics. And then the next day, their partner posted that they had gone to the hospital, like, because they were being bullied so bad. And now people are speculating whether that's true or not, because the partner mentioned them overdosing, but someone said, oh, but it's just a chest infection. And these are just, I'm trying to piece these things together. Some people have been calling it like drama on book threads and bullying. And other people like, it's not drama when we're making you aware of something that is harmful. And so I think that's a good point. Like, it's not just like a petty drama. And I just honestly don't know a like good way to say how we go about it, because these spaces online make it easy to dogpile, but very hard to have a conversation, especially if one person, you know, is going to delete comments or block someone. I don't believe in like continuously harping on or harassing someone in their comments or something. But yeah, so I don't know what is the line. And then there's someone was posted a story about going into a bookstore, and they said the older lady like didn't know anything about like how JK Rowling was, and people find that hard to believe. But I'm telling you, as someone who has spoken to people who are readers but aren't any part of the online book community, this was a while back, but I made them aware of it, but they had no idea that she was on Twitter tweeting all these things, that she's working to try to get these things passed. A lot of people still, in the general public, if you're just a casual person going into the bookstore, or even if you do like to read a lot but you're not on threads, or you're not on books on Instagram, which I don't know what Instagram is saying because I don't be on there, then it is very easy for you to miss out on things. So I think that it needs to be like, I don't know, sometimes giving people the benefit of the doubt, approaching them in a better way. I don't know. That is about certain things. That doesn't apply to everything. But I'm talking specifically about like bookish drama. And because some people are like, I'm not going to look up every single author. And other people are like, well, you should. And I just, you know, okay, everyone is not chronically online like some of us are. And then even if you are chronically online, sometimes you're not online in the right spaces where the information or the conversation is happening. So I think we could try to have a little bit more grace for people, but you still all obviously can share that information and let them know. And you know, because your vague tweeting or vague threading also doesn't help if somebody doesn't feel like going down the rabbit hole trying to figure it out, when you're just like, I can't believe people are supporting this thing. Somebody reads that and it's like, I don't know what the fuck that means, and keeps scrolling. So that also doesn't help. If you want to talk about something and how somebody should know better, then just fucking say it. God damn. I thought we were past that from Twitter, but they took it right to threads with that vague shit. Y'all get on my nerves. I like sometimes a little more tricky or whatever, but y'all come on here with the they, that book, that person, say it. You're not helping. Because then people ask, DM me. No, bitch, you brought it to the timeline. You posted it publicly. So fucking say it. God, y'all get on my nerves. Oh, like people got time to be investigating. So don't be mad when people don't know what's going on, when you know what's going on and you won't even chat. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. I will link, because I'm not going to go through all of them here, but I will link if you want to read it, the Harper's Bazaar article, but also I think they're Tasha L. Harrison, I believe, wrote a post about it, and I can share that down below. But this whole situation has really, and the conversations has really made me rethink how I feel. And this is not the first time that fanfic is being turned into traditionally published books, but it really has changed how I feel about it overall, not just in regards to these books. And I don't like it, and I really hate the spotlight on fanfiction and fandom right now, and that makes me sad. And also, I have read one of those books. I had mentioned this before, and I did have a review I was going to post, but I'm not going to post it anymore. There's lots of trans voices and that are speaking about, like, you know, how they hate seeing this, how this is harmful. So even if I did read it, I do have a review on Goodreads. I'm not going to post a video here, and I won't be about the other ones. I haven't read them. That is that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the internet just wasn't made for actual thoughtful conversations, but like we have to figure out a way, but I don't know the way. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. So I will link any information, resources you want to look at down below. And yeah, publishing is just disappointing me. So greedy. And it just wants quick, easy money and doesn't care what groups or how they hurt authors, how they hurt people. And I know this is not the end of them lurking in the fanfiction space. I wish it was, though. But going forward, if anyone in a marketing team for a publishing company is watching, if you are going to take a fan fiction and turn it into a traditionally published work, please scrub all semblances of the IP. That means tell that person to change, to get a new pen name, make a new Instagram. There should not be any kind of meme, no connection to the fandom. They need to stand on their own as a new author. And don't market it with the fandom in mind. You need to market it to new readers. Because that's another thing about this. Even outside of her being a terrible person, why would you already have a built-in audience. The people who are the fanfic readers already know. You don't have to market to them. Why have you not marketed the book? Like, besides, you know, just the tropey enemies to lovers, blah, blah, blah. Why have you not, like, if I wasn't in the know or like knew about these books, I'd be like, what are they about? Like, you don't, besides tropes is not telling me what the story is about. Y'all have gotten, when I say what the story is about, don't say one bed, enemies to, no, that's not what I mean. What is the story about? What kind of world? What's the plot? Or do you not have one? Or is it too similar to the IP and you can't talk about it? Do better. And yes, I say this as a person who isn't working publishing, but I'm just saying, okay? My opinion. Anyway, share any of your thoughts below. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.